unidentified aerial phenomena.
Now, I saw that. I don't give a goddamn what anybody else says about it. I saw that.
Then it breaks into like 3 pieces and speeds across the runway.
That day changed my whole perspective on life. And it blew my mind. I knew there was more in this world and universe than anything imaginable.
UFOs have seen a resurgence among the mainstream media.
Because he says he was abducted by aliens 45 years ago. Calvin Parker joins me now.
Since the New York Times and Washington Post published their first articles on the 2004 Nimitz encounter, they and the rest of the media have continued to publish articles relating to the topic, with most of the New York Times articles written collectively by Pentagon correspondent Helene Cooper, New York Times journalist Ralph Blumenthal, and UFO author and journalist for the Huffington Post Leslie Kean, all of whom are urging the world to take the phenomenon seriously. After the story hit, Blumenthal went on MSNBC to reveal that the Pentagon UAP program did not, contrary to what many claim, end in 2012.
It really has continued, we found out.
So what's been going on? And why have they not publicized the fact that it has continued?
Well, it's a controversial program.
Claiming the Pentagon program has attained materials from these objects and is currently studying their properties.
So they have made some progress.
What type of material?
They don't know. They're studying it, but it's some kind of compound that they don't recognize.
But if all this is actually true, how'd they get it? It's possible that we'll get some form of this answer soon.
Well, yeah, when I reflect upon what we've been able to accomplish, I sit here and kind of go, yay and hey.
It's likely the material Blumenthal was referencing, among apparently many other forms of material from unrelated events, are currently being analyzed by To the Stars Academy, a public benefit corporation whose team includes 5 insiders who were high up in the CIA, NSA, Lockheed Martin, and recently added Dr. Norm Kahn, whose experience in the CIA spans over 30 years, all of whom participants in the newly founded ATOM Research Project, which stands for Acquisition and Data Analysis of Materials.
We remain, cautiously optimistic, right? And we're going to leave no stone unturned. And so far, the stones that we have turned over, some have yielded some really pretty fantastic results.
But in the minds of many, this process of so-called disclosure from To the Stars has all but fizzled out.
There's a lot of people who are impatient for information, and rightfully so. I get it. We're human beings. We want our information. We want it now, and why are you holding back? But sometimes you have to let the right people in the right positions digest information, right? Sometimes you can't expect a 10-course meal to be digested all in one bite. It just can't happen.
We'll have to wait and see if they follow through with something substantial. I doubt the materials they have will turn out to be completely benign, given how foolish a move it would be to get everyone's hopes up only to say months later, oops, it's nothing. That said, this is the same group who claimed this was a picture of a UFO, only for the public to find out later it was a balloon. It's highly unlikely the ATOM Project will be revealing extraterrestrial materials, but rather metamaterials, which is still interesting if indeed they were found on an unknown vehicle. But it does lead to a much simpler terrestrial but still mysterious explanation of what humans created it and where. Since the New York Times article, Fox News appears to have dedicated more time than any other network to discussing this topic. They even spent time talking to a supposed abductee, Calvin Parker.
What were they in? Were they in some sort of spacecraft?
And why is Jesse so serious? Jesse Waters is arguably one of the most cynical media pundits out there, yet his composure here is strange. It's as if he's interviewing a Russian diplomat. That's weird. One would expect the opposite, as he must inwardly know that the questions he's having to ask sound absurd.
What did they do to you when they took you up in space, or wherever they took you?
Tucker Carlson is another example of a Fox News pundit who all of a sudden thinks we need to take UFOs seriously.
That's terrifying. So, these are aircraft unidentified that are operating in very close proximity to the U.S. military.
Treating those involved with To the Stars with sincerity and respect.
And the government isn't responding adequately, and I hope you keep sounding the alarm on this. I hope this tape goes everywhere. Thank you for your bravery. This just seems like a story that we should be covering much more than we do, and I hope you will come back. You seem sober and believable, and I appreciate it.
Why, thank you very much, Tucker.
Thanks. Leslie, thank you for coming on. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks a lot, Tucker. I appreciate your interest in this.
Disclosure is the process where sections in the government coordinate with respected journalists, credentialed institutions, and the mainstream media to slowly unveil information they've kept secret about UFOs. Others call it confirmation, given how much they claim to already know regarding the phenomenon. So you could ask yourself, is it true of your experience that you've been seeing more connections lately between the topic of UFOs and respected journalists, credentialed institutions, and the mainstream media? This leads many to claim we're in the middle of disclosure, but I would like to add that the New York Times has consistently broken stories in the past that changed the public's perception of the world. It's not necessarily that some elite group of influencers are putting out disclosure, but that the environment for discussing UFOs has been made easier for those in the spotlight. But even if that's true, a pertinent question still exists. With it being almost a year later, why did the Pentagon do this at all? The public didn't have to know. Or did we?